In this macro photography tutorial, we're taking a look at a subject that you guys can shoot easily at home, and it's really fun to try out. I'm going to be shooting peacock feathers, and I'm going to be putting some little water drops on these and getting nice and close with the macro lens. I'm going to get started, so I'll see you in just a sec. Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux, and today we're taking a look at these rather lovely peacock feathers. Now you can get these pretty readily online, you can get them really huge as well, but I think these little ones are going to do just fine for our macro photography tutorial today. They've got a lot of detail, they've got a lot of colour, so I think they're going to be really interesting when we get up close. I'm also going to be putting some water drops on them because that's going to create some really interesting effects as the light and these colours refract around inside the droplet of water. So I'm going to go and get some water. I'm going to set up my brand new Flash Lighting Arms, and we'll see exactly what detail we can get out of these feathers. Today's setup is going to be a pretty simple one then. I wanted this to be something that you guys can just pick up and go with at home, whether it's shooting knickknacks that you've got up on your shelves or the feathers that we're trying out today. I wanted it to be something that you can hold your camera freehand and just go exploring. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I've got my camera and I've got my IR emitter attached to the hot shoe of the camera, and then my control pod attached to the IR emitter. So that means that I can move around with my lighting in tow and not have to worry too much about its placement. I can just plug in a lighting arm and then adjust my lighting arm head up to where my subject is going to be in front of the camera, and then not have to worry too much about it after that. So I'm just going to be moving around my subject using this setup, maybe with two lighting arms as well, so that I've got multi-directional lighting, and I'm going to see exactly what we can get, and then we can add some water droplets as well. So I'm going to get started and get some initial shots of my feathers here. So one of the first things that I wanted to try with these feathers was to get a simple shot of the front of the feather, where all of those colours are, where most of the detail is. So I've got it in a little clamp here, simply so that I can keep both of my hands free and I don't have to hold a feather out in front of the camera, which you can do if you've got an autofocus lens. I've got a manual lens, so it means I've got to either move the camera in and out, or you'll use the focus ring to focus on my subject. So with it being still here, I can have both of my hands free to do that. The other thing that I've got going on is a window just the other side of my feather. So that's providing some natural light just shining in from the back, which I found really interesting. I'm not sure if I like it for my final shot, but for these ones I think it's going to be just fine to get some of that detail and the colour on the front of my feathers. Next, I'm going to be putting some water down onto my table. I've tried just a few experiments here already, but I'm going to refine that down and get some really cool shots of water droplets on top of these feathers. I'm pretty happy with those shots of the front of my feathers, but I wanted to get something a little bit more interesting. Now, I've been shooting these straight on so far, which is great for your depth of field because you can get a lot of the feather in focus, but what I really wanted to do was take a little bit more of an artistic and creative approach, shoot from an angle and take advantage of some of that shine on these feathers, as well as adding a water drop in there to refract some of that light and pick up on some of the lovely colours from the feathers themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my feathers flat down on my coffee table here, and I've got a little bowl of water. I'm not going to be doing anything too complicated using a pipette or any concoctions of water and glycerin. Some people will use glycerin to maintain the shape of your water droplet a little bit better, and that's absolutely fine. For today though, I think I'm just going to use the water. I'm just going to dab my finger into the water here and grab a little drop on the end of my finger, and then drop it down onto my feather where I'd like it to be. Very, very delicately. You can build this up over time, so don't go for grabbing huge droplets of water straight away. You can just drop them on one by one until you have a nice round water droplet. You then have to be pretty quick to get a shot, because that water will eventually seep down through the feather or be absorbed. If you get it wrong, grab some kitchen roll and you can just dab the water off again and try again. And it really is that simple, just popping water where you'd like it to be, and it adds that little focus of interest into your shot, something to look at amongst all of this colour and detail of the feather. I'm going to do a few of these and I'll put the results up as I go. There's loads and loads of different ways to shoot these water drops, but something I found as I've been going is that getting some more light in the background behind the water drop is really, really important. Because the light will shine through the water drop and then into the camera, it carries with it a lot of reflections, a lot of refraction, and a lot of the colour from the surrounding area, so that's really, really cool. The way that I'm achieving this is because I've got two flash lighting arms plugged in at once. I can control the power and intensity of the light independently for each one of these, meaning I can make more come from the right hand side, more from the left, more from the back and the front, depending on how I place my lighting arms. Now this is really, really easy to do when you've got everything attached to the camera like this. If you take it off camera, you can use Bluetooth to control where your lighting is coming from. If you want to see an example of that, go and check out our shots from last week where we were colliding water drops together, and we used Bluetooth to control the brightness of our flash arms there. I've been getting some pretty cool results from picking up the peacock feathers and shooting across at a pretty extreme angle. You can leave them down on the table if you want and shoot across them as well, but because of our shallow depth of field and the slightly reflective nature of these peacock feathers, it means we get some really amazing bokeh effects in the background with all of these really nice colours coming out and shining through that water droplet. And particularly with flash as well, because I'm used to shooting with continuous light where you can see the results as you build your shot up. With flash, you're not going to see the results until you press your shutter button, so I've been getting some wonderful surprises every time I take a shot, and all of those colours come shining out in the image. Now, if you're not one for surprises, you can actually do something with the Adaptalux Studio that is pretty unique. You can use continuous light at the same time. So we have our normal coloured lighting arms, which you can plug in on their own or using the flash arms as well. So I can just plug this amber lighting arm into a free slot on the control pod, and then you'll see that we also have some coloured amber light here as well, which will make a very subtle difference to your images depending on where it's placed, depending on the intensities of your flash as well. You can use this to add some little hints of colour if your subject isn't quite as colourful as mine. So I'm going to actually play around with this a little bit as well and see if I can't add some really interesting hints of colour using continuous light and flash together. It's actually really refreshing for me to be doing something as simple and as straightforward as shooting these lovely feathers. I've got quite elaborate in my setups over the past few months, including doing the planet project, which is a lot of fun in itself, but it does require a little bit more setup, a little bit more thought before you start shooting. This is pure plug it and play, start shooting and start experimenting as you go, which is really different and really interesting for me, especially with these brand new flash lighting arms to play with. Sam's just given me these in the past few weeks, so I've been playing around with them loads and I'm having a lot of fun. If you want to know a little bit more about these flash lighting arms and how to get some for yourself, go and check out the link in the description. While you're down in the description, make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and leave some comments down below telling me what you think to today's shoot, to the results that I've got today, and what you do differently if you would do anything differently. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see some more macro photography tutorials, ideas and inspiration in the future. But for now though guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.